Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you Prishe and Alxaal's locations around Tural and explain what they're even talking about. For those who didn't know, after you finish the 7.1 Echoes of Vana'diel quests, Prishe and Alxaal can be found in a few locations around the map. I have seen 4 locations reported. I don't know if there's more, but as of this video, everyone's been telling me there's just 4 locations, so I'm going to roll with that. In each of them, they have some special dialogue that ties back to Final Fantasy XI. And while I am working on a complete compilation of everything in Echoes of Vana'diel that is a reference to 11 and what that reference is, well, referring to, I'm going to do kind of like a micro version of that here, where I'm going to explain some of those things as we go over where you can find each location. So the first one is right in Tural itself. You're going to want to take the Ethernet over to the Forard cabins and just walk all the way to the end of the dock. You'll find them at the end, and they're just going to be discussing fishing, where Prishe is going to mention that all she would ever catch back home are koos. Now, I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but koos are a low-level fish in Final Fantasy XI, mostly known for being requested for a low-level quest in Bastok. Trading the koos to a select spot in southern Gustaberg would spawn none other than Bubbly Bernie. Yeah, actually, I had a series called Final Fantasy Bestiary where I would cover the similarities from 14 creatures back through the rest of the franchise. Bubbly Bernie was actually one of the first ones, and it's also one of the first quests I ever did in Final Fantasy XI. 12-year-old Haps thought, oh, I'll just do this quest a billion times and get rich, because koos were pretty cheap. It was like 1,000 a stack, and you would get like 500 gil every time you turned in the quest. So I was like, 1,000 gil turns into 6,000 gil. I'll just get 5,000 gil a stack and be rich. Yeah, we were pretty desperate for gil in the early days of Final Fantasy XI. This quest could not only be repeated infinitely for the gil, but also to increase your fame with Bastok. Next, we have Warlord's Echo, which was the first place I went looking for them after I found them in Tural, and it took me 2 times visiting the location to find them. And they're just outside the town gates staring at Warlord's Echo itself. Here, Prishe and Alxaal are wondering why the Yaqui have a different name on Etheirys than they do in Vana'diel, where they are simply called trolls. Meanwhile, the Mamul-Ja are just called the Mamul-Ja in both locations. In Final Fantasy XI, the Yaqui, or as they're called there, trolls, live in Mount Zeom deep in the caverns of Halvung, where they organize with a sub-faction of the Moblins in order to attack the nearby Otrgon Empire. And yes, they are indeed ran by Gerfurler the Menacing. Yeah, it's all Final Fantasy XI references if you somehow haven't heard me say that up to this point. Also, fun little tidbit, on that same mountain, you can actually find Cerberus, who was a very popular endgame boss due to the sword he dropped, and that model would go on to be used for encounters for years and years to come. Next, we have Earthernshire, where they're actually right next to the Aetheryte. I had a hard time finding these because after seeing them in Warlord's Echo, I figured most of them would be outside of the towns and not inside of the towns. But when you go to them right next to the Aetheryte here, they're just discussing the town itself and how nice it looks, and also about the Moblins, whom actually live in the underground city of Movapolos in Final Fantasy XI. Here, they were digging endlessly to, and this is going to shock you, find an iron giant of light. Yeah. But instead, they found a statue of the Twilight god Promethea. This led to them believing they were the children of Promethea, and they took it upon themselves to destroy all the children of Altana, which are all the enlightened races that the characters play. They even dug all the way to the Sea of Shumeo, where they uncovered the 5th Mother Crystal and an entrance to the ancient city of Altair, codenamed Sea by the community, much like Rohan Gardens was codenamed Sky. And yes, I did mention that the Moblins work with the Trolls as well in 11, but these are 2 completely different factions of Moblins, ones that left the Movapolos and decided to make their way over to Otrgon. And the final location for Prishe and Alxaal is in Ixprox, again, right next to the Aetheryte, where I totally missed them the first time. Now here they're discussing Tiger Fangs, and Alxaal wonders why Final Fantasy XI players would hoard so many of them. Now, Black Tiger Fangs, which are the specific item he's referring to, were used for many recipes in Final Fantasy XI. No doubt you probably would have bought a Fang necklace at one point or another. However, they were most known for a quest in southern Sandoria. By trading 3 fangs to an NPC named Tomilla, the quest would complete. And this quest was much like the one with Bubbly Bernie, infinitely repeatable. Players would use this to raise fame with Sandoria, as you had to do that in order to unlock certain quests. Not to mention that if you farm them yourself, it was 8,400 gil per stack. Because of that, the auction house would usually sell them for more, but at the very least, you could either mitigate the amount of gil that you lost, or just make sure that you were double dipping by earning the fame and the gil at the same time. Now, if any more locations spring up, I'll probably make a quick video about it, but I love interactions like this in Final Fantasy XIV. I've often said that when they just kind of make the world feel a bit more organic, at the very least it gives me an appreciation for that effort. My favorite thing is Alpha and Omega and finding them in new locations, expansion to expansion, which I haven't actually done yet this expansion now that I think about it. I've also loved having situations like finding the Void Ark back in Heavensward and other NPCs that are just non-targetable that really just don't always appear. I don't know, it just gives me a good feeling to see these characters out in the world and kind of simulating the idea that they are just living their lives. They're doing something in the time that we're not with them. And, you know, it's cool. Even retainers, when you randomly run into retainers, I don't know if you knew this, you can run into retainers randomly gathering out in the world. And that's another really cool thing as well. That you can't see whose they are, what their names are, but it's implied that they're retainers. So if you want to go and take a screenshot with them and maybe your Final Fantasy XI glam, maybe if you happen to win the little Nano Lord minion from the Alliance raid, well, go and find them in any of these locations and it'll be cool. Anyway, just wanted to make a video for this. I'm going to get back to working on that whole Final Fantasy XI reference sheet, which is very, very long, mind you. I don't know when that video will be done, but I'll try to have it done before Ultimate. But thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.